Oh, I feel bad for Andy Dalton, the quarterback of the Bengals. He's been the Bengals quarterback for years, and his time as the franchise quarterback seems to be coming to an end. I've actually watched a lot of film on Andy Dalton. I recently went through a breakup, and that breakup threw my whole life, sideways and threw me off. But before that breakup happened, I was about halfway through the season watching Andy Dalton film this year. And let me tell you what I saw when I watched the film. It's that in multiple ways, Andy Dalton has been set up to fail. I feel genuinely kind of bad for him. Number one, Andy Dalton is a victim of being drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, a doomed franchise with bad ownership. But number two, this is more sad and more important. Andy Dalton is in way, way over his head. Have you ever seen a situation where somebody gets a job that they're just not qualified for? They're underqualified for the job they have. They don't have the skills required to do the job well. Imagine if I, Zach Schaumler, was hired by NASA to design spaceships. It'd be a huge mess because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm in way over my head. That's an extreme example. But it's a similar situation with Andy Dalton for the Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton doesn't have the physical ability necessary to be a long-term starting quarterback in the NFL. He was never qualified for the job, and yet he was put into a situation where he was needed to be, and he was never put in a position to succeed. When the Bengals decided to make him their franchise quarterback, problem right there. Should have been a red flag. It was over. It never was going to work. Andy Dalton is incredibly limited as a quarterback. He has an incredibly weak arm. He also can't run to make up for the fact that he can't throw very well. Andy Dalton is very similar to Case Keenum, the former Vikings, now Redskins quarterback. He's got a low ceiling with very limited potential. I mean, sure, once upon a time, he had a good year or two. He made it to the Pro Bowl once, maybe twice. I don't actually remember how many times it happened. But the truth is, Andy Dalton had some success in the past. But that's the ceiling. That's the best it was ever going to get. Making him a 10-year long-term starter in the NFL was a mistake. It should have never happened. That's the best he has. Now, Andy Dalton is a really nice guy. He presents really well. Forget talent on the field. Let's talk about face of a franchise. He does a great job representing his football team. But that's only part of the skill set required to be an NFL quarterback and to be a long-term franchise quarterback. Andy Dalton doesn't have what it takes on the field. I've met people who worked with him at events. They did coordinated Cincinnati events with him, and they said he's a wonderful person. He's very nice. But again, the sad, harsh reality is Andy Dalton should have never been in the position to be the franchise quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. Straight up, he doesn't have a good enough arm. And that's going to make people upset, but it's true. I watched him play live on Sunday. He throws what you would call in baseball a slow curve. Or you ever seen a changeup in baseball? It doesn't get there quick enough. It's got not a lot of velocity. He's also not highly accurate. Andy Dalton had 4 interceptions on Sunday against the New England Patriots. I was there, and it's over. It's over for Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. You could see on the big screen, the video board, the Jumbotron, whatever you want to call it, at the stadium. You could see the look on his face after his second interception in that game. He knew it. He knew it was over, and he was grieving. I shouldn't laugh. I felt bad for him. The look on his face told him he knew his time in Cincinnati was coming to an end. And I felt bad for him because he was grieving, and you could tell he's upset. Like, he could tell he's about to lose his job, but he was kind of just trying to gut through it and fight through it, trying to stay focused and trying to play. And when you're grieving and upset and want to just cry, it's really hard to push through and have a good rest of your day. And he didn't have a good rest of his day. He had 2 more interceptions. They lost by a lot. But Andy Dalton was grieving the loss of his job. He knows the Bengals are going to move on. And he did his best. He's a nice guy. But Andy Dalton has always been in over his head as the franchise quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals.